material topics. One can actually see how this attitude automatically develops in the person who are Krishna conscious. Although the devotees of the Krishna consciousness movement are quite young men, they no longer read materialistic newspapers, magazines, and so on, for they are no longer interested in such topics. Nivrittattarshay. They completely give up the bodily understanding of life. For topics concerning Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the spiritual master speaks and the disciple hears with attention. Unless both of them are free from material desires, they cannot be interested in the topics of Krishna consciousness. The spiritual master and disciple do not need to understand anything more than Krishna, because simply by understanding Krishna and talking about Krishna, one becomes a perfectly learned person. Kasminnu bhagavato vijnate sarvamidam vijnatam bhavati iti. Upanishad 1.3. By knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, everything becomes known to the devotee. The Lord sits within everyone's heart, and by the grace of the Lord, the devotee receives instructions directly from the Lord Himself, who says in Bhagavad-Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivishto mattasmatirjnanapohanam cha vedaisya sarvai ahameva vedyo vedanta krudveda videva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. Krishna consciousness is so exalted that one who is perfectly situated in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the spiritual master is fully satisfied by reading Krishna Katha as found in Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad-Gita, and similar Vedic literatures. Since merely talking about Krishna is so pleasing, we can simply imagine how pleasing it is to render service to Krishna. When discourses on Krishna Katha take place between a liberated spiritual master and his disciple, others also sometimes take advantage of hearing these topics and also benefit. These topics are the medicine to stop the repetition of birth and death. The cycle of repeated birth and death, by which one takes on different bodies again and again, is called bhava or bhavaroga. If anyone willingly or unwillingly hears Krishna Katha, his bhavaroga, the disease for birth and death, the disease of birth and death, will certainly stop. Therefore, Krishna Katha is called bhava aushadha, the remedy to stop the repetition of birth and death. Karmis, or persons attached to material sense gratification, material sense enjoyment, generally cannot give up their material desires. But Krishna Katha is such a potent medicine that if one is induced to hear Krishna Kirtana, he will certainly be freed from this disease. A practical example is Dhruva Maharaj, who at the end of his tapasya was fully satisfied. And the Lord wanted to give Dhruva a benediction. Dhruva refused it. Swamin Krutarthosmi Varam Nayache. My dear Lord, I am fully satisfied. I do not ask for any benediction for material sense gratification. We actually see that even young boys and girls in Krishna consciousness movement have given up their long practice of bad habits like illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling. Because Krishna consciousness is so potent that it gives them full satisfaction, they are no longer interested in material sense gratification.
Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada began this Krishna book dictation in 1969. And then he wrote this, we just read the entire purport of 1014, which he wrote in 1976. So 1969, how many years is that? 8 years? 7 years? No, from 1969 to 1976. 7 years later, he gave us then finally the translation and the explanation of this mystery verse that he began the Krishna book with. Now, so far as this verse is concerned, we had heard for the last week about the history of the temple, and in 1977, when Prabhupada was preparing to enter Samadhi, this is a description from the Prabhupada Lilamrita by Satsrup Maharaj.
In front of the temple, workmen began clearing a space for Prabhupada's Samadhi. After several days of Prabhupada's not eating or drinking, Tamal Krishna tried again, but gently. You don't want to drink anything today? Let me drink Harinam Amiya Vilas, said Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada, said Harishori. Harinam is the sweetest nectar. Nivritta Tarshe Rupagiya Manat. Bhavoshadat, Prabhupada quoted. This is Bhavoshada, Hari Kirtan. Jayadvaita completed the verse. Bhavoshadat Shrotra Manoviramat. Prabhupada acknowledged. And Charanamrita diet. Diet and medicine. Let me depend on these.
So this sloka was very much in Prabhupada's mind, even in the last days. He considered this Bhavoshada or Hari Kirtan to be the medicine and Charanamrita to be the diet. Okay, so now we're back to, we only read the first paragraph here.
Yeah.
Who is Krishna and who is the girl with Krishna?
The immediate answer is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How is that? Because he conforms in exact detail to descriptions of the Supreme Being, the Godhead. In other words, Krishna is the Godhead because
he is all attractive.
Because he is all attractive.
Okay. Now, before you read any of Srila Prabhupada's books, did anyone ever hear of the word Godhead?
No.
No. That's an exclusive word used by Srila Prabhupada, at least for us. Because the word Godhead, Prabhupada was born in 1896. Here, see?
Yeah.
So the word Godhead was very well used word in the 1800s. But 1900s it became much less used. You understand? So Godhead, let me see if we have the dictionary. Yes. Godhead means the Supreme Being. That's who Prabhupada means when he says Godhead. But Godhead can also have an informal thing that, for instance, if you're talking about some fad, before there used to be skateboarding. So if someone was a very good skateboarder, people would say, well, he's the Godhead of skateboarding, things like that. So it means someone who's very superior in something there. So, but Prabhupada, he defines it as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how is that? Where does that description come from? Sorry. Two different. Yes, here it is. Okay. Outside.
Outside the principle of all attraction, there is no meaning to the word Godhead. How is it one can be all attractive? First of all, if one is very wealthy, if he has great riches, he becomes attractive to the people in general. Similarly, if someone is very powerful, he also becomes attractive. If someone is very famous, he also becomes attractive. If someone is very beautiful or wise or unattached to all kinds of possessions, he also becomes attractive. So from practical experience, we can observe that one is attractive due to wealth, power, fame, beauty, wisdom and renunciation. One who is in the possession of all six of the opulences at the same time, who possesses them to an unlimited degree, is understood to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These opulences of Godhead are delineated by Parashar Muni, a great Vedic authority.
Okay, now who is Parashar Muni? Parashar Muni was the father of Vedavyas, Vyasadeva. And it was he who wrote this sloka that describes what Godhead is.
There is definition of God in Parashar.
Oh, it's too small, I'm sorry. I'll make it bigger for
This
you.
one I can read. Okay, others can read.
Okay.
There is a definition of God in Parashar Sutra. Parashar Muni, the father of Vyasadeva, was a great sage. He has given the definition of God. After consulting all Vedic literatures, he has delivered the definition of God. What is that? Shadashvarya Purna, full of 6 opulences. And what are those 6 opulences? Aishwaryasya Samagarasya, he is the proprietor of all wealth, everything. Aishwaryasya Samagarasya Viryasya, he is a reservoir of all strength. Viryasya Yashasashriya, and he is the supreme famous. Nobody can be more famous than Krishna. Aishwaryasya Samagarasya Viryasya Yashasashriya, Jnana Vairagyyoschaiva Shandam Vaitingana.
So this is
wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge and renunciation. These are the 6 opulences of Supreme Personality of God.
okay. We're here. We have seen many rich persons.
We have seen many rich persons, many powerful persons.
I keep getting on the wrong one. I have to move this over a bit, just a minute. Yeah, okay.
We have seen many rich persons, many powerful persons, many famous persons, many beautiful persons, many learned and scholarly persons, and persons in the renounced order of life, unattached to material possessions. But we have never seen any one person who is unlimitedly and simultaneously wealthy, powerful, famous, beautiful, wise, unattached, like Krishna in the history of humanity. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is an historical person who appeared on this earth 5,000 years ago. He stayed on this earth for 125 years and played exactly like a human being. But his activities are unparalleled. From the very moment of his appearance to the moment of his disappearance, every one of his activities is unparalleled in the history of the world. And therefore, anyone who knows what we mean by Godhead will accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to the Godhead and no one is greater than him. That is the import of familiar saying, God is great.
All right. So, there have been very famous Jyotish and Pandits who calculated when Krishna's birth was. And most of them have arrived at the conclusion that he appeared 5,246 years ago, according to the they date back according to the calculation from the stars and according to what's spoken in the Shastras. Srimad Bhagavatam, the other Puranas, the Harivanks, they all give a description of where the stars were at that time, and they found that to be 5,246 years ago, as of 2019. So Prabhupada says that everywhere, the import of the familiar saying, God is great. So in almost every religion, the saying is that God is great. Even in Islam, in all the religions of the world, there are about 100 religions here, 100 different languages here. They all have a way to say that God is great. We have Hindi down here somewhere. Alabuyuk. Everywhere you go, people know how to say that God is great. Those who believe in God. Here, Ishvara Mahan Hai. So, and then you have, where's the Arabic? Arabic. Allahu Akbar. To everyone in all of the religions, both the Hebrew and the Arabic, they both say the same thing. God is great. So it's a very famous saying. It doesn't matter which language you speak. Everyone understands God is great. Now, aside from that, a survey was made, major religions in the world, as of today, there are about 45 major religions. And most of them probably we haven't heard of because we're living here in India. But there are many, many religions. Even atheism is considered a religion because they have their pundits, they have their sampradaya, they have their specific beliefs, whether there's an afterlife, what the purpose of life is. So a religion is defined by, let's see, in the beginning, what does it say? we can't read it because it's in the black portion. So you have to have prophets, like for the atheists, the prophets are Darwin, Freud, Marx.
So who puts in such a way, like where it comes from, like they consider it?
Sociologists have made this chart of all the different religions, of major religions of the world, and I'm sure everyone will be happy to know that they even included, you can come down here, under H, G, H. So you can read about the Hare Krishna religion.
Like what number? You go.
It's right there. This Hare Krishna movement was begun by Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Prabhupada in 1966 in the USA, with roots in the 15th century Hindu movement. So that's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Gaudiya, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. And their belief is that Krishna is the supreme God. And you can get salvation from this age of Kali by a return to Godhead, accomplished through Krishna consciousness. Reincarnation, we continue the cycle of birth and death until again we unite with the Godhead. So this is, of course, just a summary study of the different religions. It's not so far off. Chanting, dancing, evangelism. Evangelism means preaching. Nowadays they call it outreach.
It's like basically more or less gives an
Yes.
correct idea.
Yeah. Well, that's what sociologists do. They do objective studies of things. Temple worship and monastic style living. And the main scripture is the Bhagavad-Gita. And then right after it is Hinduism. You can very quickly see the difference. It's very impersonal. Indigenous religion of India has developed to present day. Earliest forms date back to, well, according to different beliefs, they don't understand about millions and billions of years ago, like with the Ramayana and what's in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, according to the Mayavad philosophy in Hinduism, there's one supreme reality, or Brahman, manifested in many gods and goddesses. So that's that Panchopasana that Prabhupada was very opposed to. Then they, according to the sociologists, humans are in bondage to ignorance and illusion, but are able to escape. And the purpose of human life is to gain release from this cycle of birth and death, or at least to have a better rebirth. So this is what Prabhupada was speaking about in the very beginning, Nivritta Tarser, that people, they think that if I just get a higher birth, then that's good enough. It's not good enough, because you're still in the cycle of birth and death then. So enlightenment for the Mayavadis is to understand Brahman. That's what the word Brahman comes from, one who understands Brahman. And then they have the different portions of the Vedas, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, etc. So all of these religions have some form, they have a belief. Oh, we'll go back to the atheists, their religion. It's very interesting. Atheism, yes.
So how old is Christianity?
2020 years.
And
The atheists, they're people who identify themselves as atheists, 7.4 million, although there might be 1.1 billion who are religiously atheists. And this atheism appears throughout history. As Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, there are two types of living entities, the asuras and the daiviks, the saintly, the godly. So yes, they've also been there from the beginning of the creation, because Lord Brahma also created the atheists, or the demons. And their philosophy is there is no God or divine beings. And whether there's an afterlife or not, they don't address it. They don't discuss it. Many atheists believe that since there's no afterlife, this one life is of great importance. Only humans can help themselves and each other solve the world's problems. So this is exactly as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad-Gita, who the atheists are, who the demons are. And these are their great, like we have our Sampradaya leaders, so these are their leaders. Marx, Freud, Voltaire, Mark Twain, notable modern authors like the scientist Richard Dawkins, yes, Carl Sagan. So all of the religions, if you want to see Christianity, we can look at Christianity, Buddhism. But the point is, people have different beliefs. And these beliefs, according to the modes of whether they're in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, they're attracted to particular types of dharma. But only those who are really interested in coming out of this cycle of birth and death will be interested in hearing the topics of Lord Krishna. Although Prabhupada previously said, and he'll say again, that all types of human beings will be interested in hearing this Krishna book, because the activities of Krishna, they appear to be ordinary human activities, so even the atheists and the materialists will be interested to hear. Yes?
I just want to draw your attention to that. The previous,
Which one?
in the beginning,
Yeah.
we mentioned that mentioned Babusha and the killer of the same.
Killer
Butcher,
of the
butcher,
same.
killer of
Yes.
the same.
Pashugna.
They wouldn't like to hear Bhagavatam.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is it possible how one can kill the self?
How we kill the self?
Yeah. Is there any talk on that? How one kill the self? Because from Bhagavad-Gita it said cannot be killed. It cannot be scoundrel, cannot be marsh, cannot be water. So how can one kill the self?
Figuratively.
How can one kill the self? I'll answer it tomorrow because I'll have to study. I don't just answer off the top of my head, okay? All right, so tomorrow we'll get the slokas about that for you, okay? You'll get a good answer from Prabhupada. I have a small brain. I just prepare. As Prabhupada spoke here, that's as much as I know. Okay, so we can, let's see if this list, if there's anything else of interest. So many different religions, all according to the modes of nature that we're born in and by our association. But everyone is included in this. They even have Satanism. That's the belief in the devil. And they have
But
new...
that's not the part of Christianity, Satanism?
No, it's a whole different belief. Satanism, the Church of Satan, was founded in 1966. They have absolutely no beliefs. They simply worship Satan. You see that? Scientology, they're all considered to be religions because they have their leaders, their Acharyas, they have their Shastras. Near our Delhi temple, there's a big Baha'i temple. You've all seen that one? So they also have Baha'i here. All right, so let me get all of this enlarged for you. 16. Okay, now we'll read on here. There are various classes
There are
of men.
various classes of men in the world who speak of God in different ways. But according to Vedic literatures and according to great Acharyas, the authorized persons versed in knowledge of God in all ages, like Acharyas, Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, Lord Chaitanya, and all their followers by disciplic succession, all unanimously agree that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As far as we, the followers of Vedic civilization, are concerned, we accept the Vedic history of the whole universe, which consists of different planetary systems called Svargalokas, or the higher planetary system, Martyalokas, or the intermediate planetary systems. Matyalokas or the intermediate planetary systems, Patala Lokas or the lower planetary system.
Okay, we can
The
stop here.
description is ahead.
Yes. We'll discuss the Acharyas here because according to Srila Prabhupada, we know that there are 4 Vaishnav Sampradayas. But then Prabhupada says there's a 5th Sampradaya. So the 4 Sampradayas are the Brahma Sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma, Shri Sampradaya coming from Lakshmi Devi, Kumara Sampradaya coming from the 4 Kumaras, and Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. In India, there are 5 disciplic successions of authorities made up of the Vaishnavites and the followers of Shankaracharya. Generally, there are 2 groups, impersonalists and personalists. There are 4 personalist schools. Ramanuja, and these are the different acharyas that Prabhupada mentions here, Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Vishnu Swami, and Lord Chaitanya. So which sampradayas each of them come from? Ramanuja, that he's from the Sri Sampradaya, the followers of Acharya Ramanuja. Madhvacharya Sampradaya, the Nimbarka Sampradaya, and Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Although they are 4, their conclusion is the same. And a differing sect is the Shankara Sampradaya. But although these 5 sections of Hindus have different theses and philosophies, they all accept Sri Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sripad Shankaracharya is considered an impersonalist, one who does not believe in the personal form of God. But still he has admitted in Shankara Bhasya, his Bhagavad-Gita commentary, Sri Krishna is the personality of Godhead. The Vaishnavites naturally admit that Krishna is God because they are believers from the beginning. But even Shankaracharya, an impersonalist, has clearly written, Sa Bhagavan Swayam Krishna. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the Brahma Sampradaya, in the present day, or within this era, we have Sri Chaitanya in the Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya. We have in our Sampradaya 2 Madhavas, that's Madhavacharya and Madhavendra Puri. And because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted initiation in this Brahma Madhva Sampradaya, it's now called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. In the Sri Sampradaya, the greatest Acharya in the present era is Ramanuja Sampradaya. Kumar Sampradaya, that's Nimbarka, Nimbaditya, also here from Braj. And Rudra Sampradaya is Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. So this is as much as I was able to study for today. I hope it's helping you understand this preface, because we read things so quickly, and right after we read them, we forget what we've read, and we forget how to apply these things. So that's why every single subject, every single word, we're trying to understand, because within just that, the one little sloka, 7 years later, Prabhupada gave a 4-page explanation of what that sloka means. Whereas in 1969, he didn't even give the translation. So it's very worthwhile for us to understand in detail all of the things, because remember, this Krishna book, the Krishna book that Prabhupada wrote, it's a summary. It's just an essence of this 10th canto. So together, hopefully, all of us will increase our understanding of Krishna Lila, this Hari Katha, which is the Bhava-oshada, and tomorrow we'll hear who the Pashu Gnats are, and yes, the killers of the soul. And we'll continue reading what Prabhupada says in his preface. Hare Krishna. Jai. Yes, Prabhu.
Just like it is written
Do you
somewhere
want the...